Hi, everybody. It's Tori.
Hey, Tori.
Hello.
Hey, I gotta fix my. How do I make my cameras turn in the opposite way? Don't change camera settings. Would it be camera settings? Hold on here. Change speaker. Okay, there we go. Well, that's not it. Okay. Aha. Yay! Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody.
No worries, Tori. Good to meet you.
I'm gonna get rid of the hat. You don't need a hat. How's everybody this evening?
Doing good.
50-degree weather. We can't complain. It's beautiful. Yeah. It was like summertime out there today.
I spent all that energy plowing and snowing, and I didn't even have to, apparently.
Yeah, you just have to sit here and watch for it to melt. That's what you have to do.
Just wait a month and it'll go away on its own.
That's assuming you don't have to go anywhere, right?
Well, it's true.
Great. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Hold on.
Hey, Ralph, just to confirm real quick, you do see my cursor, correct?
Give me another test, Ed.
Sure.
Yep.
Moving around. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little jumpy, but it works.
Okay, I'll slow my motion down.
Well, Michael Baker team, we're awful happy you were willing to host the meeting tonight so that we could not have to cut it short due to some other conflicting meetings that we have at the same time. So this was great. Thank you.
Happy to do it, Tori.
Fantastic.
I guess we'll leave it to you. You're chairing the meeting. So in terms of go time, right at 6 o'clock sharp, or do you want to wait?
Yeah. Well, what we'll do first is I'll start the meeting up. We'll read we'll go through the meeting protocol, and I'll hand it over to Renee, and then Renee will hand it over to you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay. Guess I don't need to keep, I still have the settings thing open, so all I see is myself. I don't need that. Okay, we got Randy, we got Renee here. Got to look for the rest of our team. Let me check my layout here. Stack side by side. Full screen. Tracy. Okay, I'm not seeing yet. Renee, I don't see. I know Matt Mobilio is unable to join us tonight. Oh, there's Diane. Hi, Diane. Diane just joined, and we're waiting for Mike Walk and for Joe Seton. Renee, would you be so kind as to make sure that they remember that the link is not going to be something they're used to? It's a different link. It would be on the board docs or on the new website.
Renee, you're still on mute if you're talking.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks, Renee. So let's just give it another minute or so, everybody, and then since this is a little bit different, since we're coming off of going on a new platform, just for tonight's meeting, just to make sure that everybody has a chance to.
Joe and Mike are both on.
Excellent. Okay. All right, let me make sure I'm back to the meeting here, everybody. Hold on one second. All right, I see Joe, and there I see Mike. Excellent. Okay. All right. What time do we have? I have 2 more minutes here. Give it 1 more minute, everybody. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Get my flag. I have to get my flag out. Hi, Bill McNair. Faces. All right. Well, I still hear a few people popping on, but I think we have the full BOC team that's expected to be here on the call tonight. All right. Renee, we got Mike, we had Diane, and I know we had Joe. Did I lose Joe? Joe Seton's still here, Renee? I'm not seeing the full screen. There we go. Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody. If you want to make sure that the recording starts, at this point?
We are recording.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
Welcome, everybody. This evening, it's February 24th to the Board of Commissioners workshop meeting for Wehr's Dam, hosted this evening by the Michael Baker Group. Thank you so very much. To get things started off this evening, if we could just do a roll call of the commissioners present, that would be great, Renee.
Commissioner Walk.
I see him. I'm not sure if he heard you. Mike's here.
I believe Commissioner Mobilia is not attending tonight,
Correct.
so he'll be marked as absent. Commissioner Seton.
I see his screen. Are the mics open?
To open your mic, if you're on a computer, you'll just go to the bottom left corner is the mute button, bottom left side. If you are on the phone, you will unmute by clicking *6.
Can you hear me now?
We sure can.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Commissioner Seton, I don't know that he answered. I see Commissioner Seton, can you hear us?
Joe, at the bottom of your screen, to the far left, the mute button, you can unmute that.
It actually doesn't look like he's connected by audio.
Okay.
Hi, Joe. Do you want me to try to troubleshoot that with him, or?
That would be great, Danielle. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Joe. If you can hear me, if you're using your computer, if you want to click on the 3 dots, it's one on the bottom panel where the mute video buttons are. There's 3 dots. If you want to click on that, the first option is to switch your audio. If you're using earbuds, that may be some of the problem that we've seen. So if you go ahead and switch your audio to your computer audio, that might work. If that doesn't work, I recommend coming out of the meeting and then clicking the link again and rejoining using your computer audio.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly, can you hear us?
She's on mute. I can see she's on mute.
This is Mike Walk. You can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm in the meeting, my camera's on, and I can't see myself in the.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Diane, we can hear you now.
Can you see me in the thumbnails?
Yes, we see you, Mike.
Okay. I don't see me. That's all right. I don't need to.
And Diane answered, and then Commissioner Morgan.
I'm here. All right. Well, hopefully we can get the audio straightened out for Commissioner Seton. I see he is connected, but we'll make sure. Danielle, maybe you can get that worked out. So if everybody would please take a moment and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. All right. I'd like to note that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted on our board docs for the public's future access. With that being said, I am going to hand things over to Renee and the Michael Baker team to go over the meeting conduct and process for this evening, how to work the virtual meeting and the expectations. So with that being said, Renee, I'll start with you and then you can hand things over to the team, the Michael Baker team.
Thank you. Wanted to introduce our team from Michael Baker International. Michael Baker has worked with us through this project from about 2016 to 2017. So I wanted to introduce Ralph Eberhardt. Ralph Eberhardt is in charge of the Lehigh Valley office. Ed Kaminsky is from our project manager and our technical guru on the dam, and Danielle Patrick. Danielle is going to go over the WebEx platform and kind of the rules of the evening and the process tonight. And then Ed will take it over and go through the process of how we've gotten to where we've gotten today and then our next steps. So I will turn it over to the Michael Baker team.
All right, thanks, Renee. Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody to our Wehr's Dam Repair BOC Workshop. Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to present on this dam rehabilitation project. Renee did a good job of introducing ourselves, so I won't do it again. But have a couple instructions to all our attendees. This is a virtual presentation, so there is a PowerPoint presentation that is going on along with the audio of this presentation. In addition, there are people that have the option to conference call in. So just wanted to make everybody aware that there are both those components to this presentation. Also, during the presentation, everybody's microphones will be muted, but then following the presentation, we will open everything up for comment and response. So with that said, and during that comment and response session, everything will be a matter of public record, so it will be recorded. With that said, for the people attending via the virtual platform, since this is a new platform for the township, I'd like to pass the presentation over to Danielle to cover some of the protocols associated with that.
Thanks, Ed. I'm Danielle Patrick. I'm the Public Affairs Specialist with Michael Baker. And I just want to give everyone a few small introductions here to the WebEx platform to help you navigate the platform while you're attending, and also show you some quick tips and tricks to get the best experience out of it. So the first thing I want to bring to everyone's attention is, for those of you that are using your computer, you will notice a panel at the bottom. The panel at the bottom should look very similar to the image here on the screen. The bottom left of the panel is your mute button. Like Ed said, everyone's going to be muted now and muted through the presentation. When you do have a question or would like to speak, you would use that mute button there to unmute and then speak. We ask that everyone actually keep their videos off if possible, and to stop using the video. That button is right next to the mute button. That'll just cut down on some of the distraction during the presentation, as well as it also helps with some bandwidth issues too. If you're having some bandwidth or technical glitchy issues, that might help with it as well. But feel free to turn on your video when you're asking questions. The share button has been disabled for everybody. Obviously you don't have the record button, but that three dots there, that'll help you if you have a connection issue. You can click on that and switch your audio. That may help. There's two ways to submit questions, and I will go over this at the end as well for everybody as a refresher if we have any new participants at that time. For those of you that are attending via your laptop or desktop computer, you will have the opportunity to write in your questions by using the chat. If you go over to the right, that's where on the image, the orange circle is where you will find your chat. If you just click on that, it'll expand it and you will be able to chat with me. You can also chat with me if you have any technical issues as well, but you'll be submitting the questions to me and I will be funneling them through the team to answer those questions. For those that would like to speak their question, you can use the raise hand feature. If you open up the participants panel, that's the green circle there. It's right beside the chat. If you click on that, it's going to expand the participant panel and you can find your name. And if you hover over your name, you should have the option then to raise your hand. I'll call on those that have that. Click that, it'll remain up until I put your hand down, and then I'll call on you at that time. For those of you who are calling in, and I'm just taking a quick look, I did see one person, but or need to reconnect by using their phone. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions. We'll facilitate as best as possible. We're actually going to have a segment of time where we do just take phone questions. And you can unmute yourself to ask your question by using *6. So that is the summary. Yep, I see Renee has her hand raised there. Thank you, Renee.
I just wanted to let you know that the hand, we don't see a participant list, so you have to use the smiley face to raise your hand.
Okay, so you're not seeing the participant list right now? Okay.
So you would use the smiley face icon
Yep.
2 over from the start video for the raise hand.
Thank you. Yep. Yep, and I see Tori has her hand raised there as well. And I'm going to lower Renee's hand. Tori, do you have a question?
Yep, I just wanted to kind of add in to your introduction, which was fantastic. Thank you, Danielle. Also, just like any of our meetings, if there's somebody from the public that has a question or a comment that's passed through, just make sure to get your name and address for the record so that we can follow up on those questions, just like we would do at any other public meeting. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Tori. Great reminder. Michael, do you want to unmute yourself? It looks like your hand's raised there. Do you have a
Yes,
question about it? Yeah.
I simply wanted to test my smiley face and make sure if I pressed it, my hand was raised and you could see it.
Great. We can, and we can hear you loud and clear too. That's great.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do one check with Joe Seton. Joe, it looks like you're back online here. Do you want to unmute and test that out before we move forward?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I cannot get into the, every time I press it, it tells me that they cannot display your video, make sure your camera is shared in your browser and is not used in another application.
Okay. Yeah, that might be something specific to your laptop, allowing you access to your video. That's what it sounds like to me. But we can hear you loud and clear.
That's good. It's perfect. Maybe if it's even better.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, again, I'll go over this information and a few other details when we are ready for questions. We do ask that everybody hold their questions until after the presentation. And then at that time, I will go over everything again for you. And then I'll pass the ball back to Ed.
Thanks, Danielle. All right. So my goal here for the night is to do a brief presentation, sort of a summary of the project, the dam rehabilitation project here at Wehr's Dam, where we've been, some of the repairs that are to be done on the dam, some of the ins and outs of the permitting associated with those repairs, as well as a schedule update, cost estimate update, and then at the end we'll open the floor for question and comment session. So Wehr's Dam's been a project that's been going on for several years here. It all kind of got started back in 2015. Annually, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, Dam Safety, does inspections on all the dams that are under its jurisdiction, and Wehr's Dam would be one of those. When they do these inspections, they note deficiencies in the dam and report it and share those inspections with the township. During that inspection, several deficiencies were noticed. As a result, the township brought Michael Baker on to do an investigation and prepare a conceptual plan. That started, the contract started back in January of 2016. We prepared an analysis of the dam, performed an inspection, which ultimately culminated in a presentation, public meeting in April of 2016. At that meeting, we presented on 3 basic options for the dam, which included complete removal and rebuilding the dam in its as-is condition, as well as an option for partial demolition and repair to address major deficiencies, which was ultimately Michael Baker's recommendation for the dam. As such, a referendum was put up to vote in November of 2016. The vote was for the partial removal and repair option, and the referendum was to incur approximately $6,000 to be borrowed over a period of 5 years for maintenance and restoration of Wehr's dam, and that referendum was passed. The project then progressed into final design. Several more inspections of the dam were prepared, as well as the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Dam Safety Permit, the permit that is required to authorize repairs being made in the dam. That design began back in January of 2018, ultimately culminated in a submission in November 2019. The review process took several years, but it was approved recently here in January of 2021. Since being approved, I was going to briefly go over some of the work that is associated with this permit, specifically with what was approved for this dam repair. You're looking at just an overall project site photo of Wehr's Dam. This is a photo illustrating the 5 major work areas for the dam itself. That would be the stream banks or abutments, as it's known in dam terms. In addition, we have 2 concrete repair areas, one here on this short side abutment, one out here in the middle. We also have some slide gate repairs that we're going to be doing at the center of the dam, and then some more work on the far stream bank as well. And I'll flip through a couple photos just to give you a more detailed view of what's going to be done. So these rocks in these baskets are known as Gabien baskets. Their purpose is erosion and scour protection for the embankment. As you can see in this photo, these Gabien baskets are beginning to fail. They're sliding down the bank and the bottom has been eroded. On both this embankment and the far embankment, the permit has authorized removal and replacement of these Gabien baskets. So those will be replaced in kind with newer Gabien basket scour protection. Moving a little further across the dam, this section represents a full wall height replacement. Essentially what is authorized under this permit is saw cutting the dam to provide a clean break and removal of the portion of wall that I am highlighting here with my cursor. You'll notice that this concrete on this wall looks a little different than what we have going on over here to the left. This concrete was a repair that was done 20 or 30 years ago and has failed over time. So the concrete that has remained well and is intact will stay, and we will do selective demolition to remove this and put in a new reinforced concrete wall. At the edges of that concrete wall, we'll install special water stops that will prevent any seepage from passing through the dam. Moving a little further across the dam face, we have another similar scenario. This is a concrete repair job that was also done 20, 30 years ago. And in this area, this is going to be a very similar repair to the previous one that I explained, but it won't be full height. It will only be about 24 inches down, and we'll cut a rectangular section into the dam, and we will replaced with a new reinforced concrete wall. What you're looking at now here in this photo is the center of the dam. It's tough to make out, but what is pictured here is the slide gate. This is just an iron plate on two angled rails. Its purpose is to dewater the pool upstream of the dam. And what we'll do here is we will replace this entire system with a new slide gate. And then finally, moving to the far bank, what you can see here, the concrete slab with some scour and some failing gabions. And this is work that will be addressed under this permit as well. These gabions will be removed and replaced, and this scour hole will be, additional concrete will be provided to seal up that scour hole. Okay, so that's the work that's authorized underneath the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Dam Safety Permit. There's a couple additional permits that we still need to finalize and get approval for. Those consist of the additional 3 that are listed on the screen, starting out with the Lehigh Conservation District's Erosion and Sediment Control Plan. The Erosion and Sediment Control Plan permit is a permit that is focused on preventing sediment from going downstream and contaminating the receiving waters downstream of the construction site. It involves installing fabrics and controls to collect that sediment so it can be removed prior to going downstream. An additional permit that we'll need to get for this project is the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission Drawdown permit. This permit is a coordination permit with Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and it allows for the removal of fish or any other coordination of any other issues that PFBC might have with respect to this project. And then finally, the South Whitehall Township floodplain permit. This is the permit that authorizes work within the floodway on the dam itself. So with that said, I have just kind of a couple, brief schedule roughed out here of sort of what's remaining to do on the project. And the major 3 elements are finishing out permits, letting the contract out for bid, and then progressing to construction. For the remaining permits, all 3 of them can be done concurrently. The longest approval for all 3 of these permits would be the erosion sediment control permit, which is approximately 3 months in duration for review and approval. Additionally, the fish and boat drawdown permit, a little less than that. It's typically 2 months maximum for that one. And then the South Whitehall floodplain permit would be approximately 2 to 3 weeks. On the heels of that, once we have all the permits approved, all our ducks in a row, we can let the contract out with typical bid phase to selection of a contractor being approximately 3 months. And then moving on from there, this project, if done in a single phase, would take approximately 12 months, so 1 year. But in addition to a single phase, there are options for multiple phased approaches. This would give the contractor flexibility to split the repairs up into multiple projects. This would give him the ability to reduce costs by targeting the best weather times of the year to perform the work, i.e. when July and August, when flows are ideally at their lowest. So with that said, the referendum targeted $600,000 estimate for perform the work for the repairs. Right now, we are estimating a range between $550,000 to $750,000. The main reason we have for the range is inflation and costs due to the passage of time, since several years have passed since the 2016 estimate. Additionally, there's been market fluctuation in cost of materials for the dam. One of the primary ones being concrete, which is going to be is going to play an important role in this project. And then there's also ancillary impacts due to COVID protocol procedures. So with that said, that's my brief summary of where we are in the project. And I will pass the presentation over to Danielle to kind of go over some of the protocol for opening up the question and comment forum. And I will be looking forward to discussing this with you and answering any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. So I'll just go over again how we're going to handle taking questions. First, I'll go over those of you that are using your computer to attend the meeting. There's going to be two ways to submit questions. The first way is you can submit through the chat feature. The questions will come to me, and then I will then funnel those questions to Ed for him to answer. The other way that you can go ahead and submit questions is through the raise hand feature, which will allow you to then unmute and speak your question. The raise hand feature, if you go down to the bottom of your screen, the smiley face, if you click on the smiley face, you'll then be able to use the raise hand feature. Your hand will remain raised until I call on you, which then you can go ahead and unmute. Again, unmute is at the bottom panel. On the left-hand side of the bottom panel is the mute and unmute button. For those of you that are attending via phone, I see a few. That means you're only using the phone and you're not using your computer. We will have a time where we ask questions for those that are on the phone, just to cut down on people, cutting each other off. So when you're ready to speak, you can go ahead at that time when we're taking the phone questions, go ahead and unmute at that time and ask your question. You can mute and unmute by using *6. If I mute you, you'll get a notice on your phone saying the host has muted you. And that just means maybe somebody else was trying to ask a question at the same time. I will be sure to get to your question, but I'll just mute you for the time being and focus on that other question and then come back to you. So again, using the chat feature for those who are on the computer, using the raise hand feature to speak your question, and also for those on the phone, you can use the unmute by using *6 at the time during the meeting when we come to the questions on the phone. I see some questions already coming in through the raise hand feature, so that's great. And so we'll go ahead and start there. Tori, I'll start with you. Tori, I see your hand raised here.
Yes, thank you, Danielle. I just want to make sure that we start with questions like our normal process. Start with questions from the board first, if we could do that. And then once the board has had a chance to ask their questions, then move on to the public. And assuring everybody, just like any of our workshops or public meetings, we will have a courtesy of the floor as well. So just wanted to bring that up first, Danielle. So if you could hit the board first, that would be great.
Sure, thank you, Tori. And then just again, I know it says it there on the screen, but please be sure to include your name and address, whether you're speaking your question or you're submitting it through the chat feature. Please be sure to include your name and address. All right, so Michael.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think any of you from Michael Baker and I have met. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been on the project since 2016, so I was at the original public meeting.
In any event, it's nice to meet you tonight. So I looked at the package. I didn't look at every single page, but I just want to tell you, the package is excellent. I presume that was your work. In particular, the project manual is excellent. The focus throughout on quality control, inspection and testing is very impressive. So I thank you for that. I have a career-long background in engineering and as a project manager, so most of my questions are along those lines. There's a few questions, but they're not meant to be challenging, and they're pretty easy answers, I think, based on your expertise. So I looked at the DEP permit, 3 pages, it doesn't specify any timing for completing the work. So DEP hasn't put any boundaries or constraints around, how long you can take to do the work. Is that correct?
That it's not stated in the letter. I believe it's 24 months per Pennsylvania code. I would have to look that back up. It's been a while since I've referenced that fact, but I do believe, if I remember correctly, per Chapter 105 regulations, it's 24 months to start the project.
Oh, okay, to start. Okay.
But I will confirm that.
All right. So we all need to be mindful of that. I don't have much background. I've been a commissioner for a year, so everything that happened during the earlier phases precedes me. So, so my question is, has Michael Baker been awarded, the contract to continue through the construction phase? I assume that's yes.
No, we have not. So our current contract ends with the approval of the dam safety permit, as well as the approval of the erosion and sediment control permit. So once we've reached those 2 approvals, our contract ends. But the township is required to have a engineer on hire as part of the permit regulation to have a dam safety engineer licensed with the state to oversee the construction of the project.
Right. So I guess what the township would have to hire an engineer, could presumably be you for the construction phase.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I gather from your presentation, no work at all has started to solicit construction bids.
Correct.
All right. The work is contained in one area. It all looks like similar work. So is there one contractor who would be hired, or are there specialties even within the work you described where we would need like a specialty subcontractor to do certain work?
No, it's all pretty much general contracting. The most unique specialized work associated with this would be the actual cuts. So whenever a contractor would go to make those cuts into the existing concrete in the dam, we have specifications for specific methods to use. So there's no damage to the adjacent remaining portions of the dam. It's not, it's not wire saw cutting's not 2 out. It's pretty typical demo work, but it would separate a lot of just your normal concrete workers. That would be something that could potentially have to be a general contractor would have to look to have a specialty sub come in just to do the cuts.
Okay, thank you. When this goes out to bid, based on your experience, like how many contractors might you expect to bid?
So on projects like this out in Western Pennsylvania, we typically see anywhere from 5 to 15 contractors bidding on work like this. On Eastern Pennsylvania, we'd probably have access to more contractors just with the more infrastructure within the area. So I would imagine somewhere in the 20 range.
Okay, thank you.
If I can jump in quickly, sorry to interrupt, Mike and Ed. That's really largely a function of the market at the time that the bids are advertised. What other work is out there, what the current prices are. It's really difficult to predict. And again, as Ed said, it's sort of normal concrete work. So the contractors that have that skill set can also, do private work. They can do public sector, transportation projects. There's a lot of applications to that skill set. So it's a little bit unpredictable based on market forces in terms of how many bidders you might get at the time.
Okay, thank you. Coming towards the end. So like I said, your manual emphasizes quality control in the most excellent way. What are the most challenging quality control issues for this project?
I mean, it's going to be focused heavily on the concrete work. The cuts are going to be critical. We want to make sure that no damage is done to the existing infrastructure because that's one of the most important parts of this project is not to unravel that dam, is to make sure that the adjacent infrastructure is protected well. Concrete work is going to be paramount as well, making sure that we have right concrete mix design, the right application of concrete, and proper curing.
Okay, thank you. What's the greatest safety risk? Construction safety risk?
Construction safety risk, it's pretty minimal on this project because of it's a straightforward project with respect to that. Typically with these dam projects, you have a large pool of inundated water behind the dam, and any kind of unplanned release of that water could cause a lot of damage downstream. Weir's Dam is filled up with sediment over its history. It doesn't really impound a ton of water, so it's not a high hazard dam, and it's not impounding even half the water for the height of the dam. So not a very high risk project.
Okay. During the presentation, you noted previous repairs were done 20 to 30 years ago. Would the expectation be the same here, that these repairs would last about that length of time?
I'm not too familiar with those repairs that were done and how they were done 20 or 30 years ago. The mix design did not hold up well. So since then, there's been a lot of advances in concrete mix design and a much better understanding of reinforcement. No, this would have approximately a 50-year design life.
Okay. And then my last question, but it's got a few aspects to it on cost. So you shared estimated cost range of $550 to $750. The referendum was for $600,000, and then the other part of it is what have we placed in the budget. So I guess my question is, this is probably more for Renee or Scott. How does the referendum work into this? I mean, the referendum was passed. It stated, would the voters agree to set aside $600,000 for the dam repair? But based on what I know, I don't think that money, all of that money has been set aside. We've been doing it piecemeal. Is that correct? And how much money is in the current budget?
So Mike, the referendum is to go into debt up to $600,000. And that was the plan when we go to do the large scale repair to the dam. So we put additional money in for any incidentals that may go above the 600. So I believe 2018 was the first budget we placed $50,000 a year in. So if you recall, we have 150,000, and then in 2021 we had budgeted an additional 50,000. So we have 200,000 set aside, but that's in addition to the 600,000.
Okay, those numbers sound familiar.
So right. So that money, again, the 50,000 for the 2021 budget hasn't been sent over to the specific fund yet, but it's budgeted for 2021. So I consider that 50,000 available. So there's 150 there from prior budgets, another 50 for this year. And then to incur the debt up to $600,000. And that debt was to be paid back over a 5-year period of time.
All right, thank you. So thank you for enduring my list of questions.
Thank you.
All right, Diane Kelly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation this evening. I just had a question on the slide gate. Could you explain that function? Is it something that is still, is it first of all required to be replaced, and does it serve a purpose moving forward?
Yeah, so it is a requirement of Pennsylvania Chapter 105 code. So all dams have to have the ability to dewater down to the bottom of the impoundment that they have. So it is a requirement. For a dam like this, it only really truly gets used for repairs. So any future repair that you would be doing on the dam, you would now have the ability to dewater the upstream pole without having to rip apart the existing gate, essentially.
Thank you. And as far as needing to replace that, is in reference to the cost estimate for the repairs, what amount or what percentage is needed for that as opposed to the other concrete work?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. It would probably be in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. So it's not as significant as the concrete and Gabien work, but it is a healthy chunk of the work.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Diane. All right, Randy Cope, you want to unmute?
Yep, I actually had a very similar question to Commissioner Kelly in regards to the slide gate and what its intent was for, or could it be used to any other advantage? Is there any way it could be used to help reduce flooding, or is it strictly just for maintenance of the dam or repairs?
Its primary function, specifically in a run of the river dam, i.e. a dam that's not for flood control, is to dewater the pole and for maintenance. Should there be some scenario where we do need to dewater the upstream pole, we could do that under an emergency condition, but it wouldn't be done for alleviating a potential flood problem.
One final question: is any sediment removal part of the cost estimate or required by DEP for above the dam?
Correct. Yes. So there is some sediment removal that is going to be necessary to facilitate the construction of the dam repairs. Before we can go into the dam and make those cuts, we're going to have to build a temporary dam upstream so that we create a dry space to do the work. Specifically starting with the slide gate, because that's what's going to be used to control the upstream pole levels. So we'll have to remove some sediment to put in those temporary dams. That sediment cannot be placed within the pole itself. It'll have to, once we remove it, we're only allowed to permitted to excavate. So it will have to be disposed of off-site.
Right. Okay.
Thank you,
And
Randy. Sorry, go ahead.
When you do, I'm assuming that it's a coffer dam we're building above.
Correct. Yeah, there's several options for that. There's various types of coffer dams. Whether it's inflatable bladders or even just simply concrete jersey barrier kind, or several different types that we can use. But it's essentially going to be a coffer dam of some sort, and we give the contractor that flexibility to help reduce costs on the project.
And when we redirect that water after the coffer dam, do we know where that's going to go and what other areas of the park it may affect?
Sure, yeah. So the water will continue down the water course downstream, and with any dam project, there is going to be some associated sediment that does go downstream. There's no way. Essentially, it's the drain at the bottom of the bathtub, and there's nothing you can do to keep 100% of the sediment out. But the part of the erosion sediment control plan is to reduce that as much as possible. So we will have silt barrier curtains along most of the receiving watershed to filter out that sediment and remove it before it goes downstream. As far as flows go, you should not notice an increase in flows. The pool will be drained on a dry weather day, so there won't be any noticeable increase in the water that goes downstream there.
I guess I'm curious what happens on a high water event. Let's say we do get, one of these heavy burst thunderstorms that we tend to get here in the Lehigh Valley. How does that affect the project overall? Does it slow it down? Is it, will there be a delay in work when that would happen?
So yeah, so we're beneficial with Wehr's dam that the majority of the dam is going to remain in place. So if we do get a quick flash, what could potentially happen is that the temporary cofferdams get dislodged and water goes downstream. But the dam is in a position such that aside from the contractor's work, there's no risk to public safety. So it would force a delay in the contract, and the contractor would have to redo his cofferdams before he could continue work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy. All right, Tori Morgan.
Thanks, everybody. Great presentation tonight. My question kind of comes off of a little bit of what Randy had mentioned, is understanding the proximity of the covered bridge to the dam and the work that would be done on the dam. What measures are going to be put in place to ensure that we don't disturb in any way, shape, or form the integrity of that structure as well, because that is so very close.
No, absolutely. So there, with the erosion sediment control permit, there will be an area that's delineated that the contractor is going to be able to work within. It's the limit of disturbance. And typically on these projects, temporary construction fence will be put up, and that serves as a barrier between the public and any adjacent infrastructure that we want to protect. Typically, it's the orange construction snow fence that you see on most construction sites. So for this project, at the project area limits, you'll see fencing like that to protect the work area as well as the bridge. And we will make sure that the contractor doesn't get close to the bridge to provide any kind of loading that would cause any kind of disturbance to its infrastructure. Because
the bridge, the covered bridge is actually obviously owned by the county, not the township. So it's going to be very, very important to have a very close relationship with them as we go through any actions on the side of South Whitehall. And then lastly, but not leastly, have we taken into account during any work that could potentially be done there, how that would impact? Would we need to, for safety reasons, would we need to close the bridge? Do we need to close off, this kind of goes to Randy's question as well, do we need to close off small sections of the park, that area? That's a very highly visited area with picnic tables. I would assume we're going to need to kind of, fence off a larger portion of that to make sure that there's some safety measures put in place. Has that all been taken into consideration?
No, absolutely. The coordination of public safety is going to be key on this because of the nature of the project and how close it is to trails and bridge and park facilities. So again, signing is something you typically see on these projects, as well as the fencing to delineate the project boundaries, as well as coordination with the contractor, inspectors on site to make sure that there's no interference or risk to public safety.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Michael Wolk.
I don't see his hand up unless you put it down.
I just put his hand down, Michael. If you need to unmute, oh, there you are. I think you're unmuted now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just thought there's like one more question that follows on from the cost question and answer. So I suppose, I guess we're not going into it as deeply tonight, but I suppose our future holds that the Board of Commissioners would have to make a decision whether to proceed with the repairs or not. And if, let's just say for the time being, if there's a decision to proceed with the repairs, does that then also mean we would have to to work on the $600,000 loan?
Mike, I can answer. Well, yeah, the bid for this project is like any other bid we would do. We would first come to the board to advertise the bid. And essentially the work that has been done by Michael Baker are the bid documents already. So once they obtain the approvals for the other permits, then we would go out to bid, and the board goes through the normal bid process, which it comes to you for an advertisement of the bid. At that point, then obviously, you know, kind of, Mike, the questions you asked, I don't know who does this kind of work. So I think we're all kind of interested in seeing what the bids come back at. And then from there, we would have to talk about the debt issuance of the $600,000. But that's a process as well. There's some specifications around that.
Oh, okay.
But that's a process that would have to be approved as well.
Okay. So from your answer, it sounded like you said we would get the bids and then consider the financing rather than do it in parallel. I thought, like, for the campus renovation, you know, work on the design and construction, you know, was in progress, and work on the financing was done somewhat in parallel.
Somewhat in parallel, but once we saw the bids, yes. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because again, I don't, you know, we might not have, I have no idea. I don't necessarily have an expectation, because again, I'm not quite sure of the contractors who do the type of work. And so again, I think we get the bids and see what the bid amounts are, and then we could make the determination from there. Because maybe we don't have to go into debt for as much. I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Diane Kelly.
Hi, thank you. I just had a follow-up financial question. In your experience, do you come across any grant opportunities that are available? I recall, as I was researching the history of South Whitehall's journey through the referendum and the meetings leading up to it, a newspaper article had quoted a specialist as saying that grant funds were available to pursue. So in your experience, do you believe there are opportunities for us to seek those?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, we have looked at several DCNR grants. One of the problems with one of the facts about this dam is it's not a flood control dam. Its function is primarily as sort of a park feature, and it doesn't provide any flood control protection for downstream receiving dams. So most of the state permits or state grants that I'm familiar with don't apply to Wehr's Dam. Renee or Randy, if you want to add in on that.
I can jump in, Ed. Thanks. We did reach out to our regional advisor at DCNR just to kind of pick his brain a little bit to see if this would be an eligible project. The one big thing we do have going for us is that it is in a park. So we could put an application in for this. Obviously, we can't make any promises that application would be awarded or not, but we can certainly take our best, put our best foot forward in that and try to, get an eligible application and a favorable one too. Seeing that it is in a park, DCNR obviously funds, parks and recreation services and repairs of such things. So it is possible we could get a grant through DCNR, but I'll give that a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, Diane, there's a community conservation partnership program is what we're going to attempt to apply under, and hope that we can get something awarded because it is in the park. But again,
okay, thank you.
It's not a guarantee. We're going to attempt it.
Right. I mean, that's pretty similar for all the grants that we do. It's a selection process regardless of the
Right.
necessary the need or, yeah. So well, I appreciate you looking into those possibilities, and I certainly think it's something that we as a board should consider if we could get any help from outside grants as opposed to, you know, looking to loans or using taxpayer funds. So thank you.
All right, we did have Brad Osborne. You sent me a message letting me know you couldn't use the raise hand feature, so I'll call on you next. I'm gonna send you a request to unmute.
Great, thank you, Danielle. Did that work?
That worked, we can hear you.
Great, okay. Geez, it would take an engineer like Commissioner Walk to ask all my questions, but I'm also impressed really actually with Commissioner Kelly's questions about the gate and also Randy Pope's questions. So many of my questions actually have been answered. But really just for clarification, Danielle, you had mentioned that a copy of the presentation would be available via board docs. Would that be as soon as tomorrow?
Yeah.
Renee, do you want to? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, Brad, they're just going to convert it to a PDF and then it'll be posted up on board docs.
Okay,
As soon as we get
tomorrow
it
or
back.
the next day?
I would think that, I don't want to overpromise for Michael Baker, but I would think Ralph, your team can do that and get it to us tomorrow.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. Okay. Not to be critical at all, but in my experience, the like Commissioner Walk mentioned, 20 to 30 years for a concrete repair, to me, it seems a little premature. So my question is, if Michael Baker were to do similar work, would you have expected it to last longer than 20 to 30 years? This is a low hazard dam.
Correct. Yeah. To my eye, the concrete that was done before, it looked largely unreinforced, and it was probably more typical to the era concrete practices that were done at that time. I can say, you know, with the concrete mix design we're using is it's a AAA concrete. It's the standard PennDOT bridge deck concrete, and we will have much more reinforcement in this concrete. So, you know, that concrete, that PennDOT concrete does have a 50-year design life.
Yeah. So perhaps we're in this position because the work done 20 to 30 years ago may not have been state of the art. Is that a diplomatic way of saying it?
Perhaps. I mean, it could have just been what was, you know, standard practice at that time. And not all that concrete work has failed. Some of it's still in good shape.
Okay. Piggybacking a little bit on Commissioner Kelly's question, my experience is that the slide gate is actually steel. Is that correct? And my follow-up question would be, if that's the case, why would that steel gate need to be replaced?
It's completely seized at the moment. You know, it's corroded and sealed tight.
Oh, so you can't even raise it.
Correct. Yes. Also, I believe that there may have been, you know, a temporary bracing at the time that would facilitate anchoring a hoist. That was pretty common for these type of gates.
Right.
And I could not find any evidence of that on the dam when we did our inspection. So it's fairly inoperable at this moment.
Okay. Are you saying there's actually no evidence of that it could ever have been operated?
I did. I don't know if it was been operated in the past or not. But the ability to. Now that I think back on it, I do remember seeing some photos on some of the record documents of the pool being dewatered. So I imagine it was opened at one point in time when those repairs were done on the dam.
In practice, just a question, would you recommend that this gate is exercised every couple years to prevent the locking in of it or not?
Correct. Yeah. So typically with these gates, there is an exercising of them every 2 years or twice a year. Sorry, and for that very reason, it actuates the rails and any of the mechanical workings of the gate to prevent corrosion from seizing it in place.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my next question may be one for Renee. I think I remember there was some discussion among the Board of Commissioners to take, I think what you even mentioned tonight, the $200,000 set aside for dam repair and reuse that for other purposes, expenses within the township. Do I remember that correctly? And was that actually ever done?
Brad, if you'd recall from a few public meetings ago, back when the pandemic had begun, the board had made a motion to unrestrict the funds, but then the funds were not used, and so they were re-restricted and earmarked for Wehr's Dam.
Great. Okay. So thank you, Renee. It sounds to me like between what the voters had approved as a referendum for $600,000 plus $200,000 set aside, that with the estimate we heard tonight would actually cover, let's say, the anticipated costs, if not more. Do I understand that right?
I think we'll know a better answer to that question when the bids come back, Brad.
When we get the bids, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you for remembering to put in your address as well in the chat. We appreciate that. Monica Hodges, you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I'm at 1707 Penn's Crossing. My question is actually 3 questions. The first being, have you yourself, Baker, have you done any work on any geographically proximate dams, any dams in our area? Should I keep going with my questions and then you can answer them all at once? Is that okay?
I can jump in on this one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, not terribly close to Allentown area itself. We currently hold an open-end contract with DCNR to do their dam rehabilitation work, and I've been on that contract for 6 years. So I've done dams all over the state. Not a ton down in southeastern Pennsylvania, but certainly all over the state, and in all shapes and sizes.
Okay, great. My second question out of 3 is, do you see any design variations which could perhaps cut costs? Something that wouldn't change the dam itself, but maybe just a little bit structurally that could contain costs. I'm thinking of Monocacy Creek, where you have almost like that step type looking structure. I don't know if that would be more cost containing or not, but is the cost that you gave us, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Are there any variations that could help us save money? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the way the permit's written, it's going to be pretty specific, the work that we can do. So there's not going to be a lot of change to the shape or even the materials we can use that we're going to be putting on the dam. The best way to save costs that we can and still comply with the permit is to try and reduce construction costs. So the best way to do that is to give the contractor as much flexibility with operating within that design as possible. And that kind of gets back to sort of the nuts and bolts and procedures the contractor uses to perform the work. So giving them flexibility of when to work, giving them flexibility of how to do their water control is probably the best way to cut costs on this project.
Thank you so much. And my final question is, there's in near East Stroudsburg is the Middle Dam, Sambo Creek, and Governor Wolf had proposed a Restore PA plan. Do you see that being a source of funding for this dam?
I'm not familiar with that program.
Yeah, I believe,
Okay.
if I may interject, I believe that it is one of the governor's programs that will be funded with a Marcellus shale extraction tax. So that would have to pass into law before those funds would become available.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. I'm going to pop over to the chat. Bill McNair had a question. He's at 2716 Allison Lane, and he has two questions. The first question is, what level of hazard was the dam classified as? And then his other question is, are there any requirements for dealing with solids in the pond behind the dam?
So the dam, I believe, is classified as a Class C, which is a low hazard dam. It's a low height and it does not impound a lot of water, which is why it's got a low hazard classification. It's just a run of the river dam. The sediment within the dam, it's anticipated that will be used. It would have to go to a local landfill, and there will be testing required to make sure that that's suitable for the landfill. They won't take the fill until testing of the material is done. If it tests as clean fill, it could be used as fill within township property.
Okay, great. Brian Height, I can see your hand raised if you want to unmute.
Yes, my question was based on the permit. I know it wasn't not a lot of clarity if it was 24 months, but my question is, if we get into a 24-month work cycle and that permit needs to be renewed, is it another year and a half or a year to get that permit renewed? You know, the world can change and projects can stop, as we found out last spring. And I was just wondering how arduous of a task is it to renew a permit that's already been established? Thank you.
Yeah, so the permit would not be renewed. I think at that point we would go into DP Dam Safety's regulatory and compliance arm, where they would then negotiate with the township on proceeding on the path for procedure for completion of the project. There's a lot that goes into that. There's decisions and allowances for extension of time on that permit. And I'm not too terribly familiar with that regulatory side of the enforcement for DEP dam safety.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, great. Thank you, Brian. And thank you for including your address in the chat. Appreciate that. Diane Kelly.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry, I just had one more follow-up regarding maintenance. Obviously, we are very fortunate to have Wehr's Dam in the township, and I appreciate you discussing the maintenance for the slide gate. And I'm just wondering, since we do have this asset in the township, what other maintenance should we be planning for periodically to certainly extend and protect it moving forward once we do have the repairs completed?
No, absolutely. The nice thing about Wehr's Dam and all run of the river dams is they're relatively low maintenance. So outside of exercising that gate, there isn't a lot to maintain. Once the concrete is installed, it's just gonna kind of be there. So the big things with maintenance from the township standpoint would be clearing debris off the dam, any kind of logs or rocks that wash over the dam and start causing irregularities in the flow, and just continued monitoring of the dam as well. So those are the two big things that would be associated with maintaining the dam. And then yeah, so removal of debris, logs and rocks from the dam.
Ed, do you want to speak to the required inspections after the repairs, if there are any?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So any dam that's regulated as a dam under Chapter 105 Pennsylvania, which Weir's Dam is, annual inspections are required by the owner, and then Pennsylvania Department of Dam Safety also does their inspections. For this hazard class, I believe it's typically once every other year.
Excellent, very good, thank you.
All right, right now I'm not seeing any other hand raises or chat. So for now, I will, oh, Michael Wolk. Michael, if you want to go ahead and unmute.
I complimented you at the beginning for the package, and I'd like to compliment you at the end for the presentation and your very complete and thorough answers to all of our questions.
Thank you. They've been really good questions.
I do see a few people on the phone. I'll move to those who are on the phone. If you would like to unmute and ask your question, if I have a few that come in at the same time, I will try to maneuver that. But to unmute for those that are on the phone, you just press *6. Any questions for those that are joining us via phone? Okay, I'm going to take another look at the chat here. There was a question if there was going to be a written transcript of the meeting. I did let them know that it was going to be recorded and available to the public.
Yeah, it'll be available. It's just similar to our other workshops.
Great. Thank you, Renee. All right. Any other questions from anyone else? You can please raise your hand, or at this time, go ahead and unmute and ask your question if that works better for you. All right. I am not seeing any other questions coming through the chat. I'll give it just a few more seconds. If someone has a question in the chat, go ahead and submit that now. All right, Ed, it looks like you've answered everyone's questions. You can, looks like we're turning it back over to Tori. Or Ed, if you have any other final questions or comments.
Yep.
Okay.
Fantastic. Fantastic job, guys. You did an amazing job presenting that and sharing the update so far. I'll feed out to the crowd tonight. Certainly, as you can tell, there's a time frame involved here. I would imagine we'll have some additional workshops as things progress to keep everybody up to speed with the status of this project and how it's moving forward. But with that being said, I'm going to open it up for courtesy of the floor. A last chance for any questions or comments. You can put them in the chat. We can open up the mics if we need to. So I'll leave that open for a minute or two just to make sure that we don't have any last minute questions. I'm not seeing any. Danielle, seeing any?
I haven't seen anything come through the chat. It looks like someone might just be joining us in the meeting. I'll omit that person.
Danielle, it looks like Commissioner Sutton may have a question. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Joe, do you have a question? I saw you raise your. You're on mute. You're on mute. Still mute. No. Type. Why don't you just type your question? Type it in the chat.
Joe, it looks like you are unmuted. Do you want to try speaking? Okay, do you want to type it into the chat? I see that you're having a little bit of audio issues right now. Okay, he's giving us a thumbs up. It looks like he's okay.
All
Sorry
right.
about that. We could hear you earlier.
All right. Okay, everybody, great presentation again this evening. We had no questions for courtesy of the floor or comments. So with that being said, we do need a motion to adjourn this evening. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second? I'll make a second. Second from Commissioner Morgan. All in favor? We would need an aye. We need a thumbs up from Joe for an aye.
He gave it already.
All right. Great job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Michael Baker team for a great platform tonight and a great presentation. And everybody have a lovely evening. Be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.